All right, welcome in to another episode, the last preview episode of Are You Ready for a Podcast, the official podcast of the Are You Ready for Some Football Fantasy Football League. Joe, what's going on?
We're riding the luck as the team name goes. So we're just gonna see where it takes us.
Yeah, I guess we can say the same thing we said last week, which is that fortunately for you, unfortunately for me, we're both still playing. But I don't know if you've been lucky so far. But we'll get there in a minute. We'll start with the high score of the week, which wasn't you, although it looked like it would be for a long time. But it was Grant getting the win, 134-91 over Colin, advancing to the championship game. And we thought this would be a heavyweight fight, and it turned out to be pretty one-sided. Grant did what he's done all year long and got a runaway win.
Yeah, I mean Grant's kind of been the thorn and Colin's side kind of the last couple of years. Beat him in the championship 2 years ago and beat him at the end of the regular season this year. And he's now in his third straight championship. Did it basically without three of his best players. Travis Kelce and Mike Evans were out, and Tyreek Hill was activated in time and played, but was not good at all. So he basically beat Colin by 45 points without three of his best players, which is very, very impressive and very scary to me who has to play him this week. And yeah, now he's got Dak back on track. He's got Sony as the Rams starter now full time, and yes, his team is just super deep and can get monster performances from basically anywhere. For Colin, really questionable decision making when Austin Eckler was declared out last week or in COVID protocols, and I just spent $1 on Justin Jackson because I figured Colin with his $185 could beat any offer that I would have. So I just figured I'll just throw out $1 just to see if anybody forgets to do waivers. Turns out everybody forgot to do waivers, so I got Justin Jackson and his 30-point performance, which would have helped a little bit. And then he just didn't get enough from Jonathan Taylor, who he's been relying on all year. So not a huge surprise. Grant rolls on to the championship to see if he can win his third in a row.
Yeah. The Eckler thing was big for Colin. But I don't think. I mean, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. Outside of the big Josh Allen performance, he only had one touchdown all week, and it just wasn't his week. That's going to happen. But big performance from Grant. I agree. His team is loaded, and he took advantage of Austin having no Eckler and a down Jonathan Taylor week to get the win. And it was never close. I mean, it was pretty early on. It was obvious that Grant was going to be back in the championship for the third straight year and looking for number 3. So yeah, not too interesting of a matchup. The other game was significantly more interesting, which was you getting the win 132-125 over Nick. It came down to the Sunday night game. It came down to Dalton Schultz bringing it home for you against CeeDee Lamb. And despite a 23-point difference in the defense matchup with him getting 18 and you getting -5, you overcame that with a plug and play with Justin Jackson to get a 7-point win.
Yeah, this was basically every single roller coaster of emotion that fantasy takes you on for me. We started Thursday night. I made the decision not to play AJ Brown because I just didn't feel great about him coming off his injury. He was dominant and drops 26 points, which would have given me an easy win had I played him over Tyler Lockett. And then we go into Christmas Day, which I had a great performance from Nick Chubb. Nick had a not so great performance from AJ Green. Felt good going into Sunday, and then just those noon games did not go my way at all. Stephon Diggs was scored. Damian Harris, despite losing the whole game, kept finding the end zone, and I felt really, really, really pessimistic about my odds. My afternoon guys were, able to cut into the lead, basically make it a Dalton Schultz versus CeeDee Lamb game, and then somehow, Dalton Schultz doubling up CeeDee Lamb does not happen all the time. I would say that's a little bit fortunate. CeeDee Lamb was and especially how often the Cowboys scored. They scored 8 touchdowns. Granted, 2 of them were defensive, but they scored 6 offensive touchdowns, and none of them were to CD. And if any of them had been, then I would have lost. So definitely a little bit fortunate on my part. And yeah, now I lost James Robinson, but I'm overall my team is looking pretty good going in the championship, and so it should be a good matchup against Grant.
Yeah, those are the breaks that you get, Joe. Despite losing James Robinson, getting a little win with CeeDee Lamb. Obviously Van Jefferson did next to nothing for Nick, but other than that, his team showed up, and if you score 125 points, you should win. It just didn't happen for him this week. Obviously questionable to bench Amon-Ra St. Brown for AJ Green, but I mean, you can't blame him with Tim Boyle starting for the Lions. So close game, but you got the win. And you had, what was it, like 100? I think you have 130 points like in basically back-to-back weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, your team is prime position here to contend in the championship. We'll get there in a second, but we'll real quick go through the Haney Cup tournament games and the really close one, which was Zach edging out Ben 122 to 118 on an improbable performance where the Miami defense outscores Myles Gaskin by 23 and Zach wins by 4. That is one of the worst ways to lose a fantasy football game I think I've ever seen on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Book just really, really screwed over Ben from the pick 6 on the first drive of the game to just taking every single sack when he should have been throwing the ball away, and then he threw another couple picks like that. I mean, just one of the all-time worst quarterback performances. Just sends Ben to the Haney Cup championship. But yeah, his running backs, like we've been discussing all year, I mean, are just atrocious. I don't even know what there is to do about it for him. And yeah, so and obviously Zach has gotten unlucky loss after unlucky loss basically all season. Had a couple Monday night heartbreakers, and so this is definitely he was definitely due for this type of performance, and to get this kind of a out of nowhere win on Monday night.
Yeah, I just don't know that I've ever seen a defense score 25 when you basically needed that to win. But a huge performance from Zach, and he had a solid performance all around, and then the defense just carried him across the line, which is pretty incredible. And Ben, he obviously T. Higgins went outrageous, but really needs to get more from the running backs. We won't dwell on it too long, and then we'll dwell even less on me getting hammered again by Austin, 103 to 87. Looking like it might be close for a minute, and then the Dallas defense with 2 defensive touchdowns, 26 points on Sunday night, just ended it. So big win for Austin, and a good performance for him.
Yeah, huge one for Austin, and it's really good because he might had he lost, he would maybe be without Clyde this week, which obviously is a huge loss for him. And so to get out of a week where he didn't, he put up a fine performance, but most of that was from the Dallas defense on Sunday night. So to get out of the week with a win is huge. Your team is just kind of broken right now. You had Madison for this week. You're not gonna have him this week because of Dalvin. You lost Thielen for the year. You might lose Jeff Wilson because of Elijah Mitchell. Saquon just sucks, I think. Or the Giants certainly suck. So, and who knows if Mike Williams will be back due to COVID. So there's a lot of issues. And what?
So this is what happened. Mike Williams and Gabe Davis were both out. They were not going to be allowed to play this week. So I dropped both of them. And then 10 minutes later, I get a notification that the NFL is changing the rules to allow unvaccinated players to come back before the 10-day.
Oh, you dropped Michael? I didn't see that.
Because they were going to be out. Based on the NFL rules at that time, they were not going to be eligible to play. And I'm not kidding you. It was probably 10 minutes after I dropped them that I got the notification that the NFL is changing the rules.
Yeah. And so now you have Isaiah McKenzie, but now Gabe Davis and Cole Beasley are probably going to play. So, I think, I would say at this point, I think I think you and Ben are a appropriate championship, because I think at this point in the season y'all have kind of the two most broken down um hurt teams, because Ben will probably be without Darren Waller this week because he's in the COVID protocol. So I would say it is an appropriate handicap championship, because it'll probably be pretty low scoring.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nightmare. So I guess we'll get there. We'll get to the preview. We won't dally around too long. It's late at night, and I don't want to be too late editing this.
Yeah,
So
Parker's getting married tomorrow, or when you're listening to this today. So
yeah,
big
yeah.
congrats to him.
This is 11:20 the night before my wedding, recording this. So shout out to Katie. She wanted a shout out. But can't be too late of a night. So we'll make it sort of quick. But yes, the championship. You and Grant, the two historically dominant franchises in the league, and both of y'all going for your third. So it's a fitting championship. You're the 5.5 point favorite. I think everyone would consider your team, the powerhouse. And we'll see if Grant can pull the upset. Should be a close matchup. I think having Hill and Kelsey back obviously is huge for Grant. But your team is just so deep. Your bench is really good. Why'd you pick up Dearness Johnson? I guess in case Chubb gets on the COVID list.
I've
But
had
yeah,
Dearness. Yeah.
huh?
I've had Dearness for the last couple of weeks, just in
Oh,
case. And yeah, like just in case something happens from Sunday to Monday where I have to take Chubb out. Yeah.
but yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I think should be a high scoring game. You're projected 124 to 120, the winner. Obviously Grant with the 2 point home field advantage, but should be a close matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scared to death of this 2 point advantage that I hate with all of my being. But I feel I've correctly predicted thus far. Whenever you asked me before the playoffs to fill out the bracket, I've correctly predicted all of the playoff so far, and I said I'd be in the championship against Grant, and I said I'd lose. I still kind of think that. I just think Grant's team is there. I think he can get too good of performances from too many people. I like his upside a little bit more. I've had some really good weeks, but I haven't had the 150 160 point week since week one, and I think Grant is very capable of that type of performance with all of his high upside guys.
I
And
mean,
so
I
yeah,
think both
yeah.
of these teams
So
have super high upside. I mean, you got Justin Jefferson and Nick Chubb starting your flexes. So I think that to say your
they're,
team doesn't have upside is a little bit of a
they're
reach.
starting my flexes because they're on Sunday night and Monday night. They're my wide receiver one and running back one.
I'm just saying your team is very deep, Joe.
It's deep. I agree with that. And I have a decision to make between Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, and Darrell Williams, provided Clyde doesn't play. So I guess we'll see there. But yeah, I just think Grant's team is a little bit too has a little bit too much firepower. I like my team, but I am starting, potentially two backup running backs who are only playing because their starters are out in Ronald Jones and Darrell Williams. And AJ Brown is still coming off an injury. Did I bench him in his one good week? I think that's possible. And then I really don't know what to make out of Tyler Lockett or Brandon Cooks or who I'll play there. So
I mean, you could play Darrell
yeah,
over Lockett.
I could play Darrell. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it'll be close. If I lose up this 2 point rule, I'm gonna throw a fit. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, not too much else for me to add. It should be a close game. I think that, you kind of have the trump card with Nick Chubb on Monday night. So, Grant won't be too comfortable probably. I mean, he could be 30 points ahead and you could easily close that gap. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But should be a good, entertaining championship. And then we'll get to the handicap championship, which should be a nightmare. So Ben projected 10.5 point favorite. I've got the 2 point advantage. But 83 points is what I'm projected. Ben's projected 92. Looking like a slugfest a little bit. Some very fitting handicap championship plays with Myles Gaskin and Mike Davis on his end, and I've got Isaiah McKenzie, potentially Josh Palmer in my lineup. Just things are just looking like a looking like a low scoring affair.
Yeah, I do think it would be really funny and kind of poetic if in the first year of this I won the league and you won the Haney. That would that would be at least somewhat entertaining. But I just don't know what to make. Like you know, I Ben might have enough there with Rodgers, Gronk, and his three receivers and Deontay T and Devonta, but I don't know, like just I don't really see T repeating that performance, and to a certain extent Devonta too. So I think it's gonna be really low scoring. It will probably come down to can one of you get a couple guys with 25-point performances, and that'll be enough to get you into that
I think one
one
guy
of
with a
five to
25
110
point
range.
performance might be enough.
What?
I think one guy with a 25-point performance will probably be enough. I don't think we need a
Yeah, it
couple.
might. Yeah, I would say triple digits will probably win you this game. And yeah, so it'll be interesting. It really will. Like a lot of fantasy, it'll come down to touchdown luck. You haven't necessarily had that this year, and maybe you can get maybe you can get, because you picked him up, my guy Trey Lance, who I drafted and had so many high hopes for in the preseason. Maybe he ends up saving your season and keeping you from the Haney. But
Yeah, we'll see. It
I
depends too. I
yeah.
mean, we'll see if Connor comes back. We'll see if Miles Sanders comes back. We'll see what the
No,
situation
I think
is.
Miles Sanders is out. I think that's said.
We'll see what the situation. So I guess I can start Jordan Howard with relative confidence. We'll see the situation with the Buffalo wide receivers and the Chargers wide receivers. I mean, who knows? I'm honestly not gonna start the Las Vegas defense unless Indianapolis is starting Jacob Eason or whatever. So I think my lineup is still to be announced. But this,
I would lean Ben right now. I think even though his running backs are terrible, at least I guess at least he knows what they are, and he can feel okay about his receivers and his tight end, and his quarterback, which is even more than you can say. So yeah, I guess I would slightly lean Ben, and that'll be yeah. If we both lose, this will be a little bit of a bummer podcast to end the season on next week.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can put it together and do some sort of award show next week. We said that a few weeks ago and it didn't happen. So I'll be getting back in town from the honeymoon. So we'll see what happens. I probably won't catch a ton of football this weekend. I'm not sure that that's really going to be high on the new wife's list of things to do on the honeymoon. But and I'm not sure it would really be good for our relationship for me watching Daria Gumbawale and Josh Palmer play on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. I may not know, but yeah, we'll have something next week.